Hey everyone, welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm Brittini.
I'm Fuego here.
And we're back with another review for you guys that would have been an advanced review considering we saw this movie about 3 weeks early, but unfortunately we were embargoed, so we could not put this out. But we did want to go ahead and just record the review while it's still somewhat fresh in our minds. We are talking about a movie that might not necessarily be considered a horror movie, but we did do reactions to a couple of the trailers, and you know, it could be argued that there are still some horror elements for sure, although it actually relates more to real-life horror, even considering the outlandishness of the premise of the film. So we'll get into that, but we are going to be talking about Colossal, starring Anne Hathaway and Jason Sudakis. Basically, this one we're going to do as we normally do our reviews, which is we'll talk about the movie overall, we'll talk about the story, we'll talk about the effects for sure, and all else having to do with the movie that we think is relevant. So first off, the overallness of it. Now, I think it was a very competently made movie, although tonally it was all over the place.
Indeed.
So it made it kind of hard to enjoy at times, even though I really wanted to enjoy certain aspects of it. Like, every time I started to get a little enjoyment, someone else would come stomping through on my fun, you know,
right
to make a bit of a pun.
That's funny.
So, how dare you?
So
you know, overall, I did enjoy it, but it was hampered by a number of things. Brittini, your overall thoughts?
Yeah, like you said, it was well done. Everyone did a good job on their part. I just didn't understand how the story ended up where it did with Sudakis' character.
Okay.
Did I say his name?
Sudakis.
I knew I screwed it
without
up.
revealing too much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just it really bothered me. And honestly, the portrayal of all the male characters really bothered me.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Yeah,
it is a completely fair criticism.
Indeed.
It was a movie surrounding a heroine, but yeah, we'll get into it. Fuego.
Yeah. I think I mentioned this to you right after we walked out of the press screening. I was like, this is a movie that tried to do so many different things tonally and failed at pretty much all of them. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it was very ambitious, and unfortunately, sometimes when you try to do so much in a film as opposed to, you know, concentrating your efforts, it wasn't bad. I'm gonna say that it was interesting and enjoyable in spurts, and that's about the best that I can divvy out for it. So,
yeah. So that'll bring us to the story, which is basically that we're following Anne Hathaway, who is playing essentially a young woman who is an out-of-control drunk. That is to say that she's not necessarily doing out-of-control things, but she's out of control in the sense that she's always drunk and always drinking and, like, not necessarily following through on things that she says she's going to do, and then having to deal with the ramifications of not doing what she said she was going to do because she was drunk.
Namely, not being employed for a while, and she seems like she's just partying with her homies and living with the boyfriend and enjoying life and just not being ambitious, you know?
And the boyfriend basically kicks her out, saying, you need to get your stuff together, and she goes to her hometown, to what I assume is, like, what we have to assume is her house, or her family home,
her childhood home
that she is somehow in control of. It's never really explained.
No, it's her childhood home that her parents, like, rent out during these vacation months.
Yeah,
okay.
and they did
that are up
that.
in this area. Yeah.
And
okay,
there's no renters at the moment, and so based on that, she goes and finds the hidden key, and she's just, like, crashing there in the air mattress and doing her thing. So.
And so as she's back in her hometown, she runs across an old friend of hers, played by Jason Sudakis,
former of SNL,
and he is actually running the local bar,
his dad's bar that he took over.
Yeah, exactly, and so they immediately become friends because, hey, you know, drinks.
Yeah,
bar.
And also the whole nostalgia factor too of her remembering the good times, you know, back there in the town, and she was a big fan of what the father was trying to do with the establishment, and Sudakis is just
the Western side of it, trying to build like a Midwestern theme bar and everything.
Exactly, and he's abandoned that concept, and that's about the point where their friendship kind of starts off. So.
Exactly, but the other thing that happens is the first night that she's there, she gets blackout drunk, and something crazy happens. The next morning, she finds out that a gigantic monster has attacked South Korea, isn't it? Seoul?
Yeah.
So, correct.
So yeah.
But not for the first time.
Not for the first time. No, it happened once, like 25 years prior, which we catch a glimpse of at the very, very beginning of the movie. And it's quickly linked that, or not quickly, but eventually Anne Hathaway's character puts together that the monster is showing up and doing exactly what she does, when she got drunk that first night in her hometown. And it turns out that there's a specific location of the hometown that is tied to where and why this monster appears. And I almost said these because I don't want to ruin too much.
That would spoil some stuff.
Right.
Well, it's also the time.
True.
It's
a specific time that it happens.
It's not just the when and the where. It's the time.
Yeah, there's a time factor.
When, where, and yeah.
Yeah, time factor, proximity factor. There's a lot that has to come together, which is why there is no appearance for decades of this creature.
And it's unfortunately those quote unquote rules hampered the movie a little bit. I was like, why? Because you never get any explanation as to why.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it just happens in this town at this time because. And that's it. And it's like a little frustrating.
And I still felt in many ways the reason there was no explanation was because they were pure metaphor. Yeah, but they were and they weren't. Like, that's the thing. The movie tried to straddle the line. Again, without giving away too much, we're not going to spoil. We can spoil a little bit at the end, as we normally do. So, Fuego, what did you think about the story and how it played out? Honestly, I enjoyed the first half of the film quite a bit, but there is a certain aforementioned hinted at turn that didn't really make a lot of sense to me, and it just seemed very forced, and that they were just trying to bring it into a third act type scenario.
And it was wish-washy. It was non-committal.
No.
Because they went back on it at one point, and you're and then they went back again, and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Why did that happen?
Make up your mind.
Yeah.
Decide to walk with me in the playground tonight, and it just couldn't seem to make up its mind. Once again, like I said earlier, it tried to do so many different things, and the over-ambitiousness of it also made it kind of short-sighted in the objectives that I felt like it was trying to hammer home, and it didn't succeed as well. So,
Brittany, what did you think of the story?
It started off really awesome, like with the discovery and the playing, and then the oh my gosh, being really stupid and crappy can be bad.
but I mean, wasn't it
like oh my gosh, I have
the morality play?
Yeah, the morality play, and I have to grow up, and this is really a huge burden to have. It's not just fun and games that I can play around with my drunk friends with.
Yeah, because we find out that essentially Anne Hathaway has limited control over what the creature does, and that is given away in the trailer, so that's not a spoiler.
Yeah, not at all. But wasn't it like...
But there's very real ramifications as to what she does when she is the creature, including death and destruction.
Yeah, which is actually one of the turning points that makes it from a interesting, allegorical, fun movie where there's a lot of enjoyment and it's kind of tongue-in-cheek and almost like darkly
it's
darkly
almost. It's a very dark comedy that definitely veers into horror. Like, it seems like
straight up horror dramedy.
It seems like there's a driver trying to drive this car down the dark comedy road, but he keeps like passing out briefly and veering into the horror lane right next door.
Yeah.
He's like
that's
right.
That's what it feels
That's
like.
very good. That's a very good.
You know what I mean?
Explanation of the genre of this movie.
Yeah,
he's gonna barrel right through the rails, and the movie will be dead and not interesting, lively to anybody. So
that's gonna lead us into the effects, which I think kind of can be coupled with the sound design in this movie.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's a giant monster in it, which is why we started to cover it to begin with.
Indeed.
And why we thought it would be a horror comedy, which I think there could be an argument made for that. It's more, it's like you said, it's more it's more. Again, I think it's more horror comedy
Horror drama.
Comedy horror.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it's a dark drama.
Well, I mean, the
it's
whole
definitely a
dancing
dark
around
drama
scenes
with
and
horror
stuff,
elements.
which was cute and
Yeah, but that
fun
could be, there were cute and fun moments in Tucker versus Dale too, which is still
that was
a
throughout,
horror.
dude. Come on.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Anyway, I don't need to try and defend that it's a horror movie because we're admitting that it's not a full horror movie.
It's not. It's not.
But what I am saying is that the effects. What was interesting about the effects is that you see the creature.
Kaiju.
Maybe, I don't know. You see, because it's there's more than meets the eye, as it were, and
Transformers style.
and basically, you see the creature interacting with people like sort of as though you're there, and then you see the creature on the TV screen an awful lot. And to me, when we were there with the creature, it looked way more real than it looked when people were watching it on TV. Unfortunately, we watched it on TV more than we saw it in quote-unquote real life in the movie.
Yeah,
so it kind of worked against itself in that way at times. Like, I thought the creature looked cool. Looked cool, but I think when everything was on the TVs, which was more than I would have liked, it was...
Or even that the TVs, like on their YouTubes and
their YouTube and the
everything
phones,
else,
the smartphones and everything.
Like the
I
creature
did
went
like
viral,
the use of
obviously.
technology. I thought that was
a cool
fantastic. That was a
aspect.
really cool a path into this whole... It's like, Godzilla happens now and people don't hit on the technological aspect, the YouTube generation that would be hiding out and filming anything. Like, for instance, if Godzilla attacked, you could probably see 100 channels on YouTube from different angles filming everything as it was going on. It's just different. And this focused a little bit more on that, and which was interesting to me. It didn't make it a main focus, but it was just sort of an added detail.
Prevalent enough that it was cool. It was
It built the world.
like seasoning on.
Yeah, right. That's exactly. So yeah, but the effects. That's how I thought the effects played out, in my opinion. What did you guys think?
I really liked the big creature. It was very well done. The effects on it I thought were awesome. I totally see what you mean by when they went back from screens, which we did see it more often than in person.
But I guess that makes sense because it does get down-resed if you're looking at it on a screen.
When you're on a screen, it's not going to look it's not going to look so awesome.
So I guess it follows.
It was okay with me. It never bothered me. It never pulled me out of it.
Okay, well that's good. That's good because it pulled me out a little bit, but only because I was having a bit of a critical eye with the movie anyway because of the story choices they were making.
Yeah, but the creature was never my problem. It was all the other storylines that just got weird.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't
Thoughts?
say anything visual about the film was bad, and I know this guy was really championed the Nacho Vigolando, say. He did a film that was supposed to be very visually arresting at times, not with like tons of CGI or anything, but it was called Time Crimes, and that was what kind of put him on the map and got him funding later as the years went by to make stuff like this. And I mean, breathtaking visuals. I haven't seen Pacific Rim, unfortunately, so I can't. Or like Godzilla. I mean, I did see Godzilla.
It does pale in comparison to Pacific Rim and Godzilla.
Brilliant. Okay.
In the giant creature, trust me, dude, you gotta see Pacific Rim.
Yeah, I've never seen Pacific Rim.
Anyway.
As far as like recent, creatures.
But if it looked good to you, that's still, maybe some people haven't seen
yes.
those movies, and so they might have the same opinion as you.
Yeah.
So
Well, I mean, I finally got around to seeing the most recent Godzilla where they barely showed a creature and stuff, and so I mean, score-wise, I felt like there wasn't like an overuse of score. Or music.
I don't remember any
it was
particular music stings at all.
Yeah, it was very minimalistic, and it. Just like maybe sad little codas, if I remember, where she was having those personal moments inside of her home where she was really trying to do the soul searching and figure herself out. But as far as like a ton of use of popular music or anything like that, it was very tasteful and minimalistic, I guess. But I mean, honestly, you have to discuss visuals when you're doing a movie that has parallels of big creature stuff, and yeah, I thought that was serviceable, despite not being as imperative of a part of the narrative. At the end of the day, it's a story about a girl
and her battles with her own demons. Yeah. And, well, not only that, but it kind of spreads. And so I think that might be as good a time as any to launch into the brief spoilers.
Yeah, because there's not much else we can really say.
There's not much else we can say about it. Give it a try. If you like Anne Hathaway, give it a try.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say give it a try if you like Jason Sudeikis, because you might not afterwards.
He ends up being a villain.
A little bit,
You know, kind of, there's a role reversal that happens.
I don't really like Anne Hathaway that much, and she did a really good job in this movie.
Okay, cool. That's good. It's good to hear.
Well, I mean, as far as playing a character that's less likable, it reminded me in some ways of the. Is it Rachel getting married?
I haven't seen that. It reminded me a little bit of the Sandra Bullock in 28 Days, maybe, the drunken Sandra Bullock trying to make a difference. I could see her. I could see Anne Hathaway being like this generation's Sandra Bullock for sure. That's a very
visual parallel.
Easy comparison,
obviously. Yeah,
but nonetheless,
I was impressed with her.
Yeah. So the spoilers, real quick, is that basically what's really weird is that the creature appears if one of two people walk in this particular park in this particular hometown at this particular time. So at 8:05 in the morning.
Yeah, you remembered the time.
I was gonna say 8:05.
8:05 in the morning. If either Anne Hathaway or Jason Sudeikis steps into this park, then basically the creature appears in Seoul and does whatever they do.
Mimics their movements and everything.
There's two creatures.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's basically Jason Sudeikis is a giant robot creature, which is why I made the Transformers reference.
The Pacific Rim reference.
But yeah. So the reason of that is part of my problem with the movie, because
where it stretched back and showed the childhood.
It's so flimsy.
Very
flimsy. So basically, they're going to school on Science Fair Day, it looks like, or something like that. And the wind, some kind of diorama day. The wind picks up her as a little kid's diorama and carries it over this fence that they're not supposed to cross or something. And the little boy goes and crosses it. And she thinks it's to go and help her, and so but he doesn't come back right away.
As do we,
too, right? Because it's slowly revealed across flashbacks told throughout the story of the movie. But basically, we find out at the end that she goes over and finds out what's taking him so long, and essentially he has found the diorama and started destroying it because he's jealous of her. And he's been jealous of her the whole movie because she's the only one that's ever gotten out of the town and made something of herself, even though she didn't really do anything.
Yeah, being an aspiring writer, journalist, or something.
But when this happened, when they were a kid, they both got struck by lightning, and they were each carrying a toy. She had a toy that looks like the giant monster, and he had the toy robot.
And yet they don't show the toy robot.
They did.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they showed the toy robot right after they showed the toy.
Flashback at the very, very beginning.
No, not at the very, very beginning. No, it was at the reveal towards the end. Yeah.
Which is where
it was after they revealed that there was a robot.
Yeah, but the fact that they only showed the creature at the very beginning, I mean, that's anher logic gap, maybe, right?
Well, did the robot appear? I don't know. Would the robot have appeared? No, because remember the lightning struck her right then first, and she was like she was angry, so the thing appeared, and then it struck him too, and then they both fell over and passed out. So he didn't have time. I'm making excuses for the movie.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, it's a little confusing. It's nonsensical why these things appear, but the weird thing is that it turns out, like Fuego said, Jason Sudeikis is actually the villain. He's been jealous of her the whole time, and he basically says, "You're gonna come and work at my bar, or every night I'm going to get drunk and wait until 8:05 and then go stomping through Seoul, and it's going to be your fault."
Yeah,
it gets so dark, because it even gets really dark before that when she gets drunk and shows them that she can do this, and she trips and falls, and ends up killing like hundreds of people.
Despite the fact that they thought she was like a protector.
Right. Like
Oh,
it's
no, not that.
no, it's
not
not.
yet,
It's
not
before
yet.
that
I guess
even.
I
It's,
guess
but
the
it's just-
protector
it
aspect
goes-
came later.
It goes up and down this movie. It's so weird and all over the place. But I don't recommend people skip it. I still think it's worth watching.
It's
like that's the
interesting
weird thing about it.
And thought-provoking in the fact that
It is, yeah.
Yeah, with all the things that it tried to do, even though it didn't succeed at really many of them, it still was anything with ambition associated with it. We're trying to do something different than what we've seen before. Thank goodness it's not like... I can definitely say Colossal was not like anything I'd seen before. As far as everything they tried to mishmash together. There's that old saying about there's nothing new under the sun, and you have to meld things together as far as different despondent ideas to make something different and unique, and this at least really tried.
Well, and as a
creature
movie / giant monster movie fan, I really applaud someone in Hollywood using creatures in a different fashion. Completely different.
Yeah.
You never see, like, this is total, and it's like, it's nonsensical, and you're like, wait, why are they disappearing? This doesn't make sense. But at the end of the day, they're doing it differently than anyone has ever done a giant monster movie before. And I give a resounding huzzah to that attempt.
Huzzah!
You know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think that pretty much covers our feelings on Colossal.
Yeah, I was very impressed with Anne Hathaway's performance. Sudakis, I mean...
He did well with what they gave him to do.
That's true.
I think so.
That's true.
Yeah, the turn was just very arresting and changed the whole,
the
whole movie.
But it's because he was effectively dicky. Like, that made it like, you're like,
well, there was
God, this guy's horrible.
There was one point in particular where we were like, don't do that.
Well,
and then he did that,
and we were just like, oh.
That was rough. Yeah, that was rough. That's rough.
So that's something. That's why you need to watch it, so you can see what he does.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of issues that are tackled in this movie, believe it or not.
Yeah.
It is multi-layered, that's for sure.
So
even if they're not all tasty layers. I mean,
sorry, shit. I didn't want to yawn over that. That was good too. All right.
Yeah, it's very multi-layered. Even if they're not all tasty layers, I mean, they put all the effort into it. And Nacho is obviously a talented director, and I need to watch Time Crimes finally so I can see what all the initial fuss was about.
Yeah, so there you go, you guys. That's going to do it for our thoughts on Colossal, starring Anne Hathaway. Thanks very much for watching.
Oh, wait. Are we supposed to give a rating?
Oh, yeah, okay, that's true. We did start doing that. That's right.
This is the new thing. I'd say 6 out of 10 little kaiju toy monster looking things. Yeah.
I was going to say about a 6 out of 10 as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not failure, but...
Wait, let me think. I would say 6 out of 10 broken booze bottles. Britt, what would you say?
I would say 5 out of 10 horny monsters.
All right, there you go. That works. Yep. All right, guys. So she was a little cleverer than both of us. All right. So thanks very much for watching. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
I've been Brittini.
Gracias, Jaime and Fuego. Make sure to check out our TeePublic site where you can obtain the wares there and the Horror Show Crew shirt and a Horrific Harry shirt. Good stuff. Support the show. We love you guys very much.
Thank you very much. And remember,
stay scared.